Oh, here he is.
Oh, good.
Hollywood physicist Neil deGrasse
There he
Tyson.
is.
That's right.
Call me Hollywood.
Hollywood physicist.
Hello,
I
sir.
thought that's the new name.
Good to see you.
What's going on, man?
How you doing?
It's good to see you.
All right, you live now, right?
Yes.
We are.
Oh.
That's what a big guy Neil Tyson is. He can reach across this console and shake hands with
You don't
Sam.
think that was my reach? You
No,
think
it wasn't. No, that was 90-10.
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me back on.
Oh, I have missed you.
I'm stuck in traffic. I think Trump's in town, and so nothing moves.
Everything's closed off.
We were talking about all our theories, and we were trying to get to the bottom of stuff amongst each other.
You have a hypothesis, not
We
a theory.
do.
That's what we had, hypothesized.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, there's a theory of evolution, the theory of relativity.
Right.
You had a hypothesis,
Right?
Okay.
Well, I've had a lot of issues with string, and I think they're wrong about 3 or 4 points. But if you could,
You have a problem with strings. That's different from string theory.
Right.
The string theories actually should call themselves a string hypothesis
They should.
because it's something that's still in progress.
What is this thing where they say there might be? Is it 9 or 11 dimensions? They say
11.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do they know? Because I'd heard before it was infinite dimensions with infinite possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, you have to join the Dimension of the Week club.
Right.
No, it depends on how many dimensions you can fully embed what you need to have happen. And so, in other words, whether or not you can access those 11 dimensions, if requiring it be so, has testable consequences in our 3 space 1 time dimension, then you propose that. That's all. But they're allowed to do that.
But how does math, like you're doing a math equation, what math equation says, oh, that's another dimension? Like, you know what I mean?
Is that what you did to try to get more credit on your thing?
Yeah.
I got it correct in another dimension.
But how do they
can't access it yet?
How do they come to the 11? That's such a random number.
Yeah.
As opposed, I can see if they said 10 or 100, but 11 is
Just because you have 10 fingers doesn't mean the rest of the universe has to match.
That is true.
But it's nice and
the
round.
digits.
I like equidistant things. I like
If we
similarity.
counted in base 11, 11 would be a round number, right?
you're right.
So, yeah.
So what is it that they come to that kind of what's the difference between 1 dimension and 11? I know 10, but
Well,
11.
here's what I can get you part of the way there, but you got to bring Brian Greene on the show if you want to get totally dimensioned out. But if you think about this, let's just start with 1 dimension. That's just something that has length. So a line has length, and let's start with 0 dimensions. So 0 dimension is just a point. So
There's definitely at least one
at least one what?
dimension.
A point can have 0. A point has 0 dimensions.
Whoa.
It has no length, height, width. It's just a point.
We should change the name of this radio show to The Point. We have no depth or dimension.
Okay. So
it's a point.
Now watch. So here's something interesting. So just stay with me with this, right?
Okay.
So we go to a line that's 1 dimension. A line is bounded by 2 0-dimensional points.
Okay.
You got me?
Yes.
It begins at a point, ends at a point.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So 1 dimension is bound by 2.
I'm envisioning a string with 2 thumbtacks.
Good.
And it's holding it up on a chalkboard.
I love it.
Corkboard, right?
I love it.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not envisioning that at all.
What are you envisioning?
Two ankles with a sausage. We all just do what we do.
Okay, yeah, some people, yeah. You should get help for that. Okay, so now let's go to 2 dimensions.
Right.
Let's get a square, okay?
Sure.
That is a height and a width.
Right.
Notice that a square is bounded by 4 1-dimensional boundaries,
Okay.
Right.
okay?
Right.
Which are 4 lines, all right? So we had a 1-dimensional line bound by 2 0-dimensional points. Now we have a 2-dimensional square
Length and width.
bounded by 4 1-dimensional lines.
Or 8 0-dimensional points.
Well, and they're also in there. Okay, so now watch. Let's keep going. So now let's go to 3 dimensions. Now we have a cube.
Right.
So a cube is bounded by 6 2-dimensional sides.
Right.
Are we together?
I'm with you.
Yeah, well, I know.
Okay, so now
where's the
what-
other 2?
He's still thinking about sausages,
No,
but my
where's the other
string on a
two?
corkboard.
No. By 6 2-dimensional sides. By 6 squares.
1, 2, 3,
no,
4,
by 6
5,
squares.
Okay, 6
Yeah.
squares. Okay.
To contain a cube, you use 2-dimensional surfaces to do so.
Yeah.
And there's 6 of them.
Okay.
Have you
Yes.
played dice before? Have you taken them to Vegas?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Dice have 6 sides. And they even count them for you.
Okay, no, I got it. I didn't know
watch. So now if we go to 4 dimensions,
Right.
a 4-dimensional cube, a hypercube, is bounded by 8 3-dimensional cubes on each side.
Oh my God.
What's a hypercube? How does that
Well,
look?
that's the point. So we don't live and experience 4 dimensions in that way, 4 spatial dimensions. So it's very hard to visualize, but it makes perfect and complete mathematical sense. And your boy just put up hypercubes on the screen there.
It's like a cube inside a cube, but that's looking at it 2-dimensionally.
Yeah, so that image that's up on the screen now, there's a cube on the inside. There's a cube on the outside.
Yeah.
And the connecting surfaces that connect the bigger cube on the outside to the bigger cube on the inside are distorted to us. But in 4 dimensions, they'd be perfect cubes. And so those are the 6 cubes. Sorry, 8. Those are the 8 cubes that surround the volume of the hypercube. So my point is, you continue this exercise, and in each dimension, the properties of space and time can be deduced based on what you know happens in lower dimensions. And it has other properties, fascinating features, and so when you probe the universe, it's not written in a tablet that says everything must be embedded in the dimensions that we happen to experience. So if you need more to get the task done, then you put in more and see if it helps.
What do you think of the new, there's a new spacecraft that they said it can go 1/5 the speed of light, which is going to get to the next Alpha Centauri?
Spacecraft is a little generous. It's a little chip the size of a postage stamp. And then it gets accelerated by gigawatt lasers. I want them to precisely tune the lasers to be
gigawatt?
To be 1.21 gigawatts, just to be precise with Back to the Future. But
I like that.
Is that not a real thing, gigawatts?
No, giga is billion watts. Oh yeah. Did I get that right? Billion, gigawatts or billion watts.
So how are they
like
launch?
A gigabyte.
How do you get that up to speed?
Yeah,
right.
Giga is not an unfamiliar prefix.
Okay.
And so just remind yourself of that. And once we sort of exhaust those, there are plenty of prefixes left to tap. So you refer to terabytes. You now buy terabyte drives.
Sure.
And then they go all the way up to exabyte. I mean, there are plenty of bytes, plenty of metric prefixes available. We're very well equipped.
So this thing, they launch it.
So what they do is you launch these. You're not going to put that. So the idea, this is called Project Starshot, and it was announced last year. So what you do is you have all of these little chips. Each chip has a camera. It can tell you where it is. It can collect data, and so because it's all miniaturized onto this chip the size of a postage stamp. Each one of these gets launched in a rocket out into space. Okay, but that's not enough speed for them to go anywhere. What they do is they embed the chip in a 2-meter wide light sail. It's very light material. And it's just sitting there. It's a sail. And then you take your lasers from Earth, find this thing in space, beam it at your chip, at your sail, and then you do it for 10 minutes. You can accelerate it to 20% the speed of light. And then you do one after, so you put a bunch of them in space, and you hit them one after another. And now you can send them wherever you want, but why not send it to the closest planet, the recently discovered Proxima b?
What's Proxima b?
Proxima b. That's a planet in orbit around the closest star to the sun, and that planet is an Earth-like planet in orbit around that star.
That's not in our universe.
Sure it is.
It's a nearest star to the sun. So yeah, it's in our
Isn't
universe.
it
Very much.
Not in our solar system.
Not in our solar system.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Universe big, solar system smaller.
Is that like 4.2 light years or something?
Yeah, very good. We don't be showing off here. Oh, 4.2.
I wasn't sure 4.2 was the one I
Okay,
remember.
it is the one you're thinking of. Okay. So what you're thinking of is the Alpha Centauri system, which is not a lone star. It's got several stars, one of those groupings is the one that happens to be closest to the sun. We call that Proxima for obvious reasons. And if the nearest star to the sun has an Earth-like planet, this bodes very well for the search for life.
So they're going to. I didn't realize they were sending out more than one.
Yeah,
I thought it was just
they were
one.
thinking of thousands just because they might. These are really sensitive to interstellar dust and particles, and you don't expect all of them to get through. So they might have overestimated the danger, and they might send up fewer. But there's the matter of the gigawatt laser punching through the atmosphere. You don't want any planes flying over.
Right.
When that happens. And by the way, 20% the speed of light. These are 4 light years away. So 20% the speed of light. You get there in how much time?
20 years.
20 years. You got it.
There it is.
The man does his math.
He's good.
20 is 1/5 of 1.
It would have taken me 2 weeks.
So if you get will they be able to take photos and video on that?
Yeah, and then they send it back, and at the speed of light, they would beam it back. So the speed of light would take 4 years. Yeah.
What a weird communication that would be to take 4 years to communicate with.
Yeah, in fact, any communication with alien in another galaxy, in another civilization, in another star system, you cannot expect to have sort of witty repartee.
Right.
It's like, how you doing? Then you wait for the signal to get there. I'm fine.
Did you see?
How do you feel?
Yeah.
Each packet, each episode of communication needs to be. You want to get enough info in there so that you can justify the wait for the answers that return.
Speaking of communication, did you see Arrival?
You are the 1,000,000,000th person to ask me if I've seen it.
I told them not to ask.
Well, no, that's right. No. So I was so asked that question that I said I gotta do it.
Right.
So I went and saw Arrival.
And
10 days ago. And I was going to tweet about it. You want to be the first to hear my comments?
I would love to.
You want to be the first?
Yes. I want to hear about Arrival.
It's a fascinating film that if you haven't seen it, it's aliens visit, and they have several spaceships that park, basically, in different locations around the Earth. And it's not obvious why they came, or are they hostile. And, of course, one lands in America. And America, we shoot and then ask questions if you survive the bullet. So we're very suspicious of them. Mm-hmm. And I think the most suspicious countries are the ones who we know... They're the ones who we know other countries should be suspicious of us if we showed up on their doorstep.
Right.
I think it's a little bit, there's a mirror held up to us in that regard. But anyhow, so the military's out in full force, wondering do they have hostile intent or not. And they send a linguist and a theoretical physicist to investigate this new life form. And I'm not giving much away here to say that,
by the way, if you have theories on this thing, you can give away the whole movie. I don't care.
A feature of the film and the aliens' way of doing business is that time is circular to the alien. It's not linear. To us, time is linear. An event happens before another event. You don't go back to it. We keep moving into the future. We are forever prisoners, locked in the present, transitioning between our past and our future. So in Arrival, however, the aliens there, not only is their time circular, but so is their means of communication and their means of expression. So it's interesting to see what we have to do to wrap ourselves into circular thinking in order to even have a conversation with them.
So and now this is because
it's an interesting exploration.
It is.
Yeah. It's.
Is there actual science to it though?
There's some time travel in it, only because if your time is circular, you come back to where you started, and they have to address this in some way.
Yeah.
So, and I think any sci-fi movie that thinks hard about putting time in it is good.
Is the science real? Is what I'm asking.
The aliens real?
I know, he's just very childlike.
So, just to be clear, when I tweeted about films in the past, I think I'm deeply misunderstood when I tweet. I think people see me as some buzzkill. Don't ever invite him to sit next to you. And you shouldn't invite to movies people who read the book first.
Right.
Just have them stay the fuck home, okay? Because they're going to complain no matter what. I mean, how many movies are better? So I don't need you next to me telling me what was better.
The Shining was better than the book.
A couple, and Gone with the Wind arguably was a really good movie, even though the book itself was great. There are a couple of others like that, like Rebecca was an excellent film and a first-rate book. But those are exceptions, as we know. Wizard of Oz probably came out better than the book.
Godfather.
Sure. But we're hand-picking them from the thousands of movies, tens of thousands of movies that are out there. So when I comment on a film, my goal, whether or not I achieve this, my goal is to connect you a little more deeply to the science that it got right and to think about the science it might have gotten wrong. And I'm not nitpicking. There are things that you got to invent just to tell the story. I give it to you. All right. But if you invent something to tell the story and you could have gotten real science to tell a better story, I'm going to be all up in your case.
You should. And I also think that people because we don't know science, right? We don't know the science behind it, so people tend to just trust whatever's in the movie
as legit science.
What I want to do is hold the directors and producers accountable to getting the science right if they can before they take their leap of storytelling.
Right.
And I don't think I'm asking very much. If you watched a period film from the 50s and there was a car parked on the street from 1962 and you were a car expert, you'd have right to
say something.
You'd say something and people would be proud of you for noticing it.
Now with the aliens, we have a guy on our, he's a big conspiracy guy. He thinks there's been thousands of alien abductions.
And what does he base it on?
I would love to ask him. If we get Troy in here, I would like him to ask you because we are genuinely curious.
Do you think that there's been alien abductions?
I have not seen convincing evidence.
He said based on the reports that people have given that they've been abducted.
Based on eyewitness testimony.
Yes. Troy, do you want to ask Mr.
Which, of
Tyson?
course, though eyewitness testimony be high in the court of law, it is the lowest form of evidence in the court of science. If you go to a scientific conference and say this is true because I saw it, it's like they'll just laugh you out of the room.
Right.
It's like come back when you have a reliable and verifiable means of recording that information. Hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Troy, all right.
Yes. But at this moment, if you were to be asked, you would say you're not saying that alien abductions couldn't happen or have happened, but you have no evidence.
I'll just say the evidence that has been put forth as evidence is not convincing to a skeptic.
Right.
And most of that evidence is either, and we'll find out in a minute, either someone with eyewitness testimony coming forth giving firsthand account of what they experienced, or it is something in the sky that they didn't understand and presumed it to be something in the absence of actual evidence to support it.
Could have been Aurora Borealis.
It could have been something. It could have been actually aliens. But
could have been.
But I just bring me an alien. Then we're good.
There's been a few that are questionable.
Yeah. Well, you're quite convinced.
Troy, how you doing?
Good, man.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Yeah.
You're quite convinced of the alien abductions.
Yeah, I mean, there's
wait. Have you been abducted?
I have not. No.
Okay, so you're trusting the words of other people.
I'm just going by what I've seen before, as far as
words from other people,
testimonies, as far as
testimonies.
Yeah. 3 girls in Zimbabwe who are 5 years old. And they came running up. They're out playing in a field. They came running up to the house. Mm-hmm. 3 little, they're little girls, 5 years old.
So they don't have point of reference to a lot of things.
They've taken these girls apart, separated them, said, "What did you see?" They all said the same thing, and they all drew the same thing. So when you see something like that, it's kind of hard to be like, you know what? Those girls just made that up. That's not real.
Okay, so now we might have 1 billion people in the world today who carry with them a camera and a video and a video camera, and it's called the smartphone. So in the era of the smartphone, where everyone can record unambiguously what is in front of them, we don't have some increase in the number of reports of abductions or anything else. That number, we have pictures of extremely rare things now, like buses getting flipped into the air from tornadoes. There was a day when you would say, "Hey, that's interesting. Let me go home and get my box camera to photograph that." So we knew things happened, but we never photographed them. We have such capacity to record today, and I don't see any better evidence than ever has been put forth. So we can say the girls saw something. We don't know what it is. That's not enough evidence to convince a skeptic that they were actually visited by aliens.
Well, and that's what you're saying is not necessarily true, because there is a lot of evidence of recorded, documented, unexplainable things in the sky.
Wait a minute. Just because you can't explain it doesn't mean it's a visiting alien from outer space. I'm not saying there isn't unexplained things in the sky. That happens all the time, especially to people who don't really know and understand sky phenomenon, especially to them. But by and large, you can encounter something in the sky that you can't explain. Happens all the time.
How about airlines?
By admitting you can't explain it, you have removed yourself from further conversation about it. You cannot say, "I don't know what that is, therefore it must be a visiting alien from outer space." There's a period goes at the end of the sentence of, there's something I can't explain floating in the sky in front of me.
What about,
you're done.
What about airline pilots? So those guys are the only ones that give a lot, because they understand how things move, they fly, and propulsion much better than most of the average person does.
What I'm saying is, I'm talking about human beings here. I don't care what your profession is. I don't care how many chevrons are on your side. I don't even care if you're a scientist. The point is, what we have learned, and psychologists back this up. Scientists found it first, then psychology got invented, and they study this to no end, that the human sensory system is one of the most susceptible of any data-taking configurations to bias, to mood, to misinterpretation, to all of these. And we say, damn, how are we going to do science when the human sensory system is so susceptible? Let's build machines that can make the measurements, that remove your eyes, that don't use your hearing, that don't require you to taste it, that don't require you to even have to think about it. We measure it. Now I can show you this measurement. Okay? Yeah, I mean, and by the way, it got extra complicated in the era of Photoshop, because now Photoshop practically had an alien button. You press it, it throws in a UFO. All right, so even if you produce photographic evidence in this day of doctored photos, it's a start. It's better than your eyewitness, but it's a start. I'm saying, grab me an alien. And we're good. We're good to go. All these people who are sure they're aliens, get one. It's fine. And I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to say you shouldn't do it. I'm not saying there aren't aliens out there. I'm not even saying they haven't visited. Produce one, and you will convince every single skeptic there ever was. That's all.
What about the green?
There was a movie, one of the dog movies, either Dogs or... one of the dog movies.
Right.
Where the whole movie is in the perspective of dogs.
Right.
Okay? There's a kid who finds a crashed flying saucer that the Great Dane had flown to Earth in.
Marley and Me.
That's not the dog movie.
Okay. So now watch. Okay? Another kid says...
Yes.
No, I don't believe you. Because here's eyewitness. So the kid brings him to the crashed flying saucer. He says... Okay, so now let's continue. It was great. It was very simple.
That's science.
It was, yes. That is science.
I mean, over Christmas, if anybody was online, half the internet was convinced that Sinbad starred in a genie movie called Shazam. And everybody had this same, it was a collective memory. Everybody had a memory of this movie.
Collective delusion.
Right,
yes.
Right. And they were all in agreement that this movie had happened, and it was a thing. Until Sinbad came out and said the reason there is no record of this movie is because I was never in a movie called Shazam. I was not in a genie movie. I've never played a genie in a movie. But because people remember it, and because their friend remembers it, and because the other people on the internet remember it.
These are cognitive failures of the human memory. And the sensory system is in there as well. We've known this. If you count how many people said they witnessed Bobby Thompson's home run, or name some other
Babe Ruth pointing.
If you log how many people say they were at the game, it far exceeds the number of seats in Yankee Stadium.
And some of those people actually believe they were at the game.
Yes.
Most of them are liars, though.
Some are liars.
Some are lying on purpose. Others believe they were actually there.
I mean, there's a whole...
And if you believe something that is not true, but you're compelled that it is true, you'll pass every lie detector test. Right? I mean, it's whatever...
Because you believe it.
Because you believe it. That's right.
So you think it's being covered up, Troy?
Yeah. Well, right. So we haven't gotten to the conspiracy part yet. So, what all conspiracy theorists have in common, everyone I've met and spoken with, is there's a point where the data either don't agree with what they already want to be true, or there's just an absence of data. And so when they get to that point, they invoke the conspiracy. And it's more often where the data don't agree with what they want to be true that they'll say, oh, it's being covered up or withheld or purposefully masked so that they make you think something else instead of the actual truth. So there's always some gapping going on in the data. Mm-hmm. And the gapping in every case is the assertion that there's some powerful secret agency that is covering it up. And I'm charmed that many people think it's the U.S. government. That is assigning a level of competence to the U.S. government far beyond anyone who's actually worked for the government will report to you. about.
Do you think that's true, or you think the government's up to some shit?
Yeah, I think they're up to some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well,
wait. Don't get me wrong. The government's always up to something. The government's always trying to keep a secret. The question is whether they will succeed in keeping the secret of stockpiling it. Look how much we knew about President Clinton's genitalia. If there was ever a state secret, it would have been what he does with his, where he puts it. All right. But there it was on TV.
How do you respond to that? The competency angle.
Well, first of all, I think that, you say with conspiracy theorists, they believe one thing. I think non-conspiracy theorists do the exact same thing in the other direction, where they're so far convinced that they won't ever go, oh, you know what, that's actually interesting. As far as like Roswell goes, the crash in Roswell, the day after it happened, the Army issued a press release saying that there has been a UFO that crashed in Roswell. We have recovered bodies. Then all of a sudden the next day, it's a weather balloon. And it's like, how would you mix those two up? So it's multiple things like that. And you're right. There are no alien bodies. We don't see them, but there are things like somebody in the restaurant.
Do you think they have alien bodies probably in Roswell?
I mean, I would.
Did you see Alien Autopsy?
Oh, that was terrific.
No, that was fake.
No,
right?
it wasn't.
Are you talking about the documentary where they went through and they supposedly had a fake alien body and they debunked that? Yeah.
Do you think that it's possible that some of the
One reason why? By the way, the phone on the wall had a coiled handset, which came out 10 years later than what they said.
Isn't it amazing how they blew it?
It's hard
that
to fake.
one little thing.
Yeah.
Do you think that there is a possibility that some of the scientists and their data actually have incorrect data because of what the government does?
Yeah, but there's just so many things, though, that point to the direction that there would be aliens, that it's so hard to discredit everything and be
Carl Sagan didn't believe they had
easy
come.
to discredit everything.
I mean, all these people are crazy. The thousands and thousands
I didn't
of
say
people.
anybody's crazy. We're all humans. And we're all susceptible.
A lot are, though.
And so I never used the word crazy. I never said that. All I'm saying is, what you're presenting and what you think is legitimate evidence simply isn't scientifically.
Okay,
and I'm not using different rules to apply to you than I would to any of my colleagues saying anything else about much less interesting things in the universe.
So what about these people that claim to be abducted that have had certain things implanted in their body that are not found on Earth?
Crazy liars?
That's
Nutcases?
No. There's nothing in their body that no one is able to identify.
Yeah, that's not true. They found stuff. They found implants that were from meteorites.
What we should do
They
is...
found a meteorite
what I'm
implant
saying
on
is
somebody?
tiny
all
little-
I'm saying is give me the aliens. Until you can do that, we have nothing to talk about.
Where'd they get the meteorite?
That's all I'm saying. Meteorites are all over the Earth.
Oh.
Well, what
Okay?
evidence
found
were
on
they found
Earth?
in a body of meteorite evidence? You're saying they found things?
What I'm saying is, I have set the bar for you. Until that bar is crossed, we actually don't have much to talk about. And I'm not going to stop you from capturing the aliens. Go right ahead. Do it.
You don't have those kind of tools.
My sense of it is, if an alien has the power to cross the galaxy and show up at Earth, it's not going to show up to a farmer in the backyard that has to then tell us what the farmer saw, or to 5-year-old children. That'll be a major thing that will go unmistakably down in history as an alien visitation. That is my sense of it. But produce the alien and we're good. Then all of you will be vindicated. Don't you want that to happen?
All of you, the crazies.
Yeah.
All of you.
Yeah.
Don't you want to be vindicated?
The locos.
Until that happens, don't expect scientific skeptics to jump on your bandwagon. Just don't expect that. And I've told you why.
Tell them about the thing with the similarities.
Oh, they say that
Who's they?
people that have been doing the research.
The folks.
Well, scientists are people too. So
That's right.
And
We're all
kids are people
aren't we?
too. If you remember Bob McAllister, all kidding aside.
Good point, Sam.
Thanks,
I'm glad
Sam.
you brought that up. Yeah. So the good addition.
people, doctors, scientists, whatever you want to call them, that have documented the alien abductions.
People, scientists, whatever you
want to call them.
whatever title you want to throw on there. I'm with you.
Regardless.
The alien abductions, as reported,
Dorks.
are personal eyewitness testimonies of events that happened to themselves.
Sure.
Okay. Just let's be clear. Okay.
But tell me about
I'm distinguishing the quality of your data. All right. To say these alien abductions that happened. No, these are alien abductions that people say happened. Okay. Just be clear.
That's fair.
We, as a scientist, we distinguish the sources of information. Otherwise, it's a jumble of he said, she said. And so you mean the alien abductions that people say they have experienced? Continue.
Yes. Then the people the doctors that have been documenting them.
Yes.
There are certain people that speak with people that claim to be abducted. And there are thousands and thousands and thousands of abductions. And, they have research on what they have done to them. And a lot of the people that have been abducted have the same blood type. They're like 49% of the people. So for that to be claimed to be
and
eye colors, most of them have green eyes.
Oh, so maybe they're specifically looking for green eyes, type whatever.
So, I mean, is that enough evidence to say there's aliens? No, but that's definitely something that's like, oh, that's a little odd. That's a little weird.
So keep at it. Go ahead. I won't stop.
I think he knows. I think he knows the truth.
I'm not authorized to divulge.
If you had to guess, Troy, if you had to guess, because he's talking science, because, I mean, Neil deGrasse Tyson is a public figure of science.
Sure.
But if you think you were having drinks with him and just saying like, let's
off the record, where like people, because it would be major news if he came on this radio show and said he knew about aliens.
Yeah, but huge. Off the record, if
I'm
you were
not
just
authorized to comment on this.
I think you were just talking to Neil deGrasse Tyson.
He's got the inside scoop. He knows what's going on. He does. He plays it down for the radio because you have to.
You know where he's going to reveal it, by the way? He's promoting Star Talk Mondays, 11 o'clock on Nat Geo.
Yeah, I'll have a public announcement only on then.
Yes. Yes.
I have information that I will only reveal.
We only have a couple of minutes left with with Neil because Travis says we have a couple. Are there any calls?
Star Talk came. It's continuing. Monday nights. Yeah, and there's a book associated with it. Star Talk the book. Very cool. We should have sent you one.
I would love
one. It's really fun. Every page you open it up, it's some burning question you probably had about the universe that we had discussed
Troy's
on the
got
show.
Questions.
And yeah, because you're a good question guy.
Thank you.
I mean, incessant curiosity.
Yeah, I could literally just I want to take a Winnebago trip with you. That's my goal. I was just sitting in the back talking.
But I want to take that same trip with you.
You certainly don't. We also have. I have a question from Dr. Steve.
Okay.
Should we do that real quick?
Up to you.
What do you want to do? Or phones? If the phones are lit?
Yeah, phones are lit. You can go to Dr. Steve.
What did New Horizons tell us about Pluto that we didn't know already?
That Pluto was a much more interesting world than the low-resolution images had ever given us. On a level where I think we have to admit that it had active geology going on, which would make it a much more interesting kind of object than just a passive rock out there, frozen rock, whose surface features are just whatever happened to hit it, craters and other things. So there's quite a few years of research and discovery awaiting just the data that was sent back by the New Horizons. By the way, just a few weeks ago, it was announced what its next target will be out in the Kuiper Belt, and I forgot its phone number, but there's a targeted next object for the New Horizons mission, which was always part of the master plan for it, but it wasn't confirmed until recently. So the craft is still alive, and it's still being our scientific eyes in the outer solar system.
How far away is Voyager?
Voyager,
yeah.
So Voyager 1 basically crossed over. It crossed out.
Interstellar space.
Yeah, it's now the sun's influence on it is no different from the collective influence of other stars in the galaxy. So by that measure, we can count it as having joined the ranks of interstellar spacecraft, which is for our engineers is a category of 1, all right? But anybody else who's done it, they're all out there in a jamboree for sure.
Do we get communication back from it at all, or no?
I haven't verified this, but I think we've shut off the communication channels.
I thought they figured out a way to save the little bit of energy. There was a teeny bit of remaining energy, and they had this.
Well, the judgment is it costs money to keep any spacecraft going, and once you crossed out of the solar system, you can ask, what is there interesting data that it's still going to give us once it's made that transition? And the answer is not really. So you'd use the money and you apply it to another spacecraft that's asking different questions. Yeah.
All right, we have time for like one phone call.
Oh, okay.
You have to put your headphones.
Oh, sure, I can do that.
Yeah, so I guess we'll go to.
It was good before.
The volume's okay.
Yeah.
We'll go to Chip in New York.
Hey, am I on the radio?
Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Tyson. This is Chipper.
Hey, Chipper.
When I was a little kid, my mother always said, Chipper, you should be an astronaut because when you go to school, you take up space.
Where's the rim shot for that one? Yeah.
He's gone. He just wanted
Okay.
He just wanted to.
That was a wasted call.
Yeah, all right, let's go to one more call because that added nothing to our conversation whatsoever. We'll go to Joe in Milwaukee.
Hello, Joe.
Yeah, Joe. Hopefully he'll be better than Chip. What's up, Joe?
What's that? I don't believe that time travel will ever be invented because of the simple fact that somebody from the future, when it will be invented, would have already came back to either this time or an earlier time and proven it.
Maybe they already have, and they're named Albert Einstein and Isaac Newton.
What?
Or anyone who was so far ahead of any place we were at the time that we all, as a culture, as a civilization, as academic subjects, had to catch up to what it is they brought to us.
So these people that are known as being ahead of their time maybe actually were ahead of their time?
I would include artists in that as well. People who, they put something on the table and no one understands it.
Steve Jobs.
No one can relate to them. You look at Picasso, you look at Van Gogh. So, and I'm being very loose there in that supposition. But otherwise, sir, you make a very compelling argument that, you see the protesters, what do we want? A time machine. When do we want it? Well, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No, but maybe the rules, maybe there are certain reasons you can't come back and do that.
Rules? It's not a movie,
No,
Jim.
rules meaning
It's
whatever. Or maybe there's a reason you can't do that because then the future, so maybe there's a
it would
reason
set
that
off
happen.
a chain reaction.
Yeah, possibly, sure.
Marty, be careful. No, so it's a very good point. I think a stronger argument against it is the risk of paradoxes, where if you accidentally prevented your parents from meeting, then you were never born. So go back in time to have prevented your parents from meeting. By the way, this whole thing with the Terminator, we go back and kill the person who's the mother of this. All you have to do is delay by a few minutes when they had sex.
Right, because the yes, it would be
a different sperm and a different person. So
a lot of this was explained in the scientific film The Butterfly Effect, starring Ashton Kutcher.
Oh, okay.
Little changes, yeah.
If you don't want the actual sex to happen, you go into the past and you put my face on the guy.
Well, we got to let you go.
We have to write you a Radio Andy. Yeah, they tell us we have to wrap up at 10.
I got it. Places to go. People to see.
Mondays at 11 p.m. on Nat Geo. You can see Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson. You've had a ton of amazing guests like Whoopi Goldberg, Buzz Aldrin, Jay Leno, William Shatner. So check that out Mondays at 11 p.m. on Nat Geo. Also, you're going on tour later this month.
Wow.
There's always these standing invitations for me to give public talks. And so later this month I'll be in Texas. Yeah.
Yes. January 17th, 18th, 19th.
But I think they're all sold out, so that's why I don't really talk about them. Yeah.
Well, isn't that nice?
Well, that's gotta be fun.
Nice.
I literally promote my gigs until 10 minutes before I walk on.
Well, then, if you want to see Neil deGrasse Tyson and you don't have tickets to see him, you better tune into Nat Geo
and watch him on Monday nights.
Yeah. Maybe there's some tickets. I don't know, but just generally, I don't tell the world when I'm someplace local. My Twitter stream would be overrun. So
yeah, and plus, let's be honest, you really don't have a problem selling tickets. So,
well, no, I mean, I'm enchanted by the appetite that the public has shown for science.
Yeah,
and yes, I have this following, but that's not the best measure of it. Just look at hit movies and TV shows where science is a fundamental element of the storytelling.
That's right.
I didn't make them do that, and the fact that I'm in 3 first-run films, box office films, in minor roles, but I don't have agents trying to put me in these movies. They call me up and say, "Could you be in, what I was in Ice Age 5?" Yes, there were 4 others that preceded that one. I was a character, and I said a briefly appearing character. They came to me, so that means they're thinking about science, and they want some scientific authenticity in the artist's palette. So I think this is a phase shift, the tide shift in the reaction that the public has to what role science they want and need to play in their lives.
Excellent.
And in closing, I always say it when you're here, but I really do think that we will, the whole speed of light being the fastest you can go, I don't buy it. It's a mistake.
Well, all right, we'll go to break.
That's your hypothesis.
It certainly is.
We'll be back.
We'll be back with more Jim Norton and Sam Roberts.